Okay, today we're going to look at the equations of circles and the standard form equation of a circle. What we've got here is if we know the center of a circle, we know the x and y coordinates, our formula is going to look like this. We write x minus the h, which is the x coordinate of my center, squared, plus y minus the k, which is the y coordinate of my circle center. And then we square the radius. Okay, that is what it looks like in standard form. Now, using this next example, there's my center, there's my radius. Well, we're going to write x minus my h, which is my x coordinate, which is 3, squared, plus y minus my k, which is negative 3. Now if I subtract negative 3, it ends up being plus 3. And then that is set that equal to my radius, which is 6 squared, which is 36. And that's how we write this in standard form the equation of a circle given the center and the radius. Now, look at this next example. It says that here's my center. So if I had that on a graph, it would be negative 3, negative 2, somewhere around here. And then 1, negative 2, so this is the center of my circle, and it passes through this point 1, negative 2, which would be right there. So you basically have a circle that looks like that. Now I don't know what my radius is, but I do know that this segment from the center to the edge of the circle is my radius. So if I could find the distance between these 2 points, then I'll know the length of my radius. Well, that's where distance formula will come into play. If you'll recall, we have x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So let's do this. We'll make the negative 3 my x2, so negative 3 minus my other x, which is a 1 squared, plus negative 2 minus negative 2, which ends up being plus 2 squared. You'll notice that these cancel out. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. 0 squared is 0. So I end up with negative 4 squared. Don't forget all this is under a radical. So I have basically 16. What's the square root of 16? 4. So that's the distance between these 2 points. That's my radius. Well, now that I know that my radius is 4 and my center is negative 3, negative 2, I can write that equation. Let's go ahead and do that. It would be x minus negative 3, which is plus 3, plus y minus negative 2, which would make it plus 2, equals my radius squared. 4 squared is 16. That would be the equation of that circle. Okay, so if we're given the circle, the graph of the circle, can we write an equation given the graph? Well, here we have my center. We need to know the coordinates of this center, which would be 1, 3. That's the center. My radius is 2. So now we're good to go. X minus 1, the x coordinate of my center, squared plus y minus 3, the y coordinate of my center, equals my radius squared. 2 is my radius. Square it. That equals 4. And there's my equation. The last example from our notes, needing to know the center. That's going to be negative 2. And it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4. So that's the center. My radius is radical 17. So now we plug it into our formula. X minus my x coordinate, which is -2, making it +2, plus y minus -4, which makes it +4. Now we take our radius, which is radical 17, and we square it. Whenever you square a radical, you end up with that same number without the radical. So that is equal to 17. 1 through 6 should be pretty easy on the assignment. All you do is plug it in. We didn't do any examples in our notes like numbers 7 through 12, but let's look at number 7, which is the more difficult of the 6 on the homework. We know what the center is because we have x minus the center, which would make that +4, y minus -1. Basically, you're taking the opposite sign of whatever's in parentheses. Now my radius is equal to this 114. That's my radius squared. So we have to take the square root of both sides so that my radius equals, it actually doesn't simplify, so we're left with radical 114. For your information, the others on this page are whole numbers. You won't end up with the radical there. So that should make it a little simpler. And here we have, given a drawing, we're going to have to come up with the equation. So let's find the center. Center would be right there. The coordinates for that center would be over -3. That's my x coordinate. And my y coordinate would be 4. And my radius would simply be the distance from the center to the edge, which in this case is 3. Now you know your center, now you know your radius. You can write the equation for that circle. Now be careful on these because you'll notice that each box is not 1 unit. It is half a unit. So if your center is right here, your coordinates would be over -1, down -2. And from your center to your edge would be 1 unit, 2 units. So your radius would be 2. Be careful there because at first glance it looked like it would be 4. Number 16 is just like that. Be careful because it skips. Every 2 boxes represents 1 unit. Alright, looking at this, we hadn't seen an example like this, but if I have nothing in parentheses, what is my center? Well, in this case, if there's nothing in there, your x coordinate of your center is 0, and your y is also 0, since there's nothing in parentheses there. So that's your center. Your radius is equal to, remember, 36 is your radius squared, so you have to take the square root of that, which means your radius is 6. So what would this look like on a graph? When it says to sketch it, I just want a xy coordinate, graph the center, which in this case is at the origin, with a radius of 6. So it looks something like that. That's really all I want to see for these sketches, nothing more. Alright, fairly short lesson. Hope this helps you with the standard form equation of a circle.